way over here. There's no way.
Hello.
Hey, it's Tuesday.
It is.
But it's a new year.
It is.
Yes. It's been an entire, we haven't been here since last year.
It's been a whole year since we've done this.
Oh my goodness. What a weird day it has been.
I feel like they're all weird anymore.
They might be.
They're just all weird.
Yes.
I don't know that that's bad. I really like your necklace, by the way.
Thank you.
It's very cute. I didn't put one on today.
Matches my sweater and my hair.
And your hair.
Can't really tell though.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really
Yeah, you can.
see it. There you go. I gotta sit. Wait, I gotta sit like this.
We'll do that. we'll not do that.
Put my chair up.
You want to be taller than me?
There we go. I think now I'm about your height.
Okay.
Oh goodness.
So
yeah, it's been a day.
it's been a year.
Yeah. Happy New Year's, Dad. So, hi Shirley, Barb, Jean. Today we decided we would start
We're gonna
a series of Back to the Basics on
Yep.
the different machines. So we'll probably end up like rotating through them, each of them sort of twice, because
there's not 1 week probably won't be enough to cover everything about every type of stuff that we're gonna do. So new year, lots of you got new machines. So
Yeah.
we're gonna start back and talk about some basic stuff that
Yeah.
you guys, a lot of you have questions about that you didn't know you had questions about. So we're hopefully gonna hit all of those little things. So hello.
yeah. She's from Arkansas, or is in Arkansas, maybe not from.
Just happens to be visiting.
Mhm.
You never know.
It's probably warmer.
I would say it can't get a whole lot colder,
It's
but
warmed up to 32.
woohoo!
It was like 6 or 8 or something this morning.
Really cold when you get out of bed right now. It's not fun. Makes it harder to get out of bed.
It does. I might have rolled over the bed this morning and said, I don't want to.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I
It was a
did.
nice few days off.
I rolled over and said nope.
Yeah,
But-
it was pretty peaceful weekend with the exception of I felt compelled because the Kimberbell was left unresolved. I
Yeah.
didn't get to it before I left on Thursday, and I tried a couple of times over the weekend and wasn't getting anywhere.
If any of you happened to try to shop on Kimberbell's website, their whole website has been
Maybe they're just super busy, or
it's
they're
either
having
bogged down or it's glitchy or I don't know what, but it's been really, really hard to get through there. So it's been something.
yeah,
Something.
that's a
We'll just go with something
good thing to
because
say.
not sure exactly what it is.
right.
So not to, knock or anything, but
Yeah,
it's been a hard one.
we got a new sign.
Yes.
Right? Do you see there's like stitching on the sign? Yes, right there. So
That's hard to do.
It is. It's like, where is it?
Where to go?
Where
It's
There
easier
we
if you stick your tongue out.
is it?
Everything's easier if you stick your tongue out.
My mom
Did you
used
know
to
that?
do that all the time. Yeah. So today Lisa's gonna have to do all the talking.
But I can talk better right now than the last time we were doing this.
Yes.
My throat was just terrible by the end of last week. I was just dying. It was just not much.
So we were talking about getting back to the basics.
We were.
And we've already had a couple people who were really excited to start using their products and have had a couple of snafus.
Which is what kind of prompted this.
this.
So we
And-
thought, this was something that
we've never really done the matte part.
we haven't. So today we're going to talk about blades and mats, which really are the nitty gritty when it comes down to scan and cut. Because if you're not doing the right thing there, nothing's going to work. So
Right.
it really does.
You're going to need a lot of tongue sticking out if it doesn't work.
Or maybe it's going to be a lot of lots of raspberries going on. I like raspberries, but not those.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about which one to use when and which blade to use with which mat and all of those different types of things. And I did forget to grab those from over there.
You have to be more specific.
I was going to grab the CM series stuff and I didn't do that, but that's okay. I'm
Hayden
looking
might
at
be
it.
able to do that.
It doesn't look like we have a a turquoise one over there anyways. So I see a purple one, but most people don't use the purple one. So let's just wing it.
Okay.
It's okay. We're going to wing it. I don't see one, so I don't see anything to tell you to grab.
Do you think there would be anything in a drawer?
I don't know. Do you know where there's a I'm looking for a blade holder that's got a turquoise circle on it. So it looks like that purple one there, but it's got turquoise.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Because we don't have any of those machines here anymore. So.
All right. Well, that's okay.
Like you know what? Said. It might be in that bag. He's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
See, we keep him around for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
He's so smart.
He is.
It's because I'm a hoot.
Yes, he's a hoot.
Did you guys know we had an owl here? You're an owl. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
So
blades and
blades
mats.
and mats, and she's gonna show you our
favorite
owls.
Product so much.
And how to clean it.
All right. So
it's a lot of information.
It
so
is.
I think we're gonna switch over to the other camera and get started.
And we are. So
are you good with that?
Feel free. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
ask questions.
Sarah's going to monitor the comment area while I am working over there because I won't really be able to. Yeah, she's watching you. She's got her eyes on you. So if Tony's giving us the evil eye. Speaking of eyes on you.
Yeah. There's a camera in the back, Tony.
We could just flip that right around and it'd be yeah. He's like, no. Yeah. No.
It's just this little button right here.
Ooh. That just fall on
your stuff.
Yep.
And your bag.
Gross.
All right. On to the gross mat.
On to this fun stuff. All right. So if you have questions as I'm going, pop those up and Sarah will yell and say, hey, wait, we got to talk about this.
Yep.
So make sure you pop those in there so that I
ask
know
a lot
to
of questions.
stop.
I like to yell at her.
Yes. This is the chance. This is her chance. I just gave permission so she can yell at me. So first of all, we have these really great little tote things that are divided on the inside and they will
the writing on the bag was upside down and I was like, please tell me the camera's not upside down, but it is upside down.
It's because the handle's up here.
Yeah, I get that.
So
now.
when you are
I thought we were
carrying
gonna have
it,
an upside down problem again.
It's
yeah, I get
legible
it now,
when you're holding it.
which totally makes sense.
I have often thought, why is that upside down? So I'm right there with you. So in here, I've got all of my little goodies. We've got tape, we've got tools, we've got pens, holders, all of that, and then all of my different blades. This guy usually sits in here as well. I just pulled him out because I'm going to use him. In mine at home, I actually cut right here. You can pick if you want to do this or not, so that these, instead of sitting on the top, actually fit in one of those slots because there's not a large slot. So I actually cut one of my tabs out so I have a large slot at home. I didn't do that to the one at work. So in case we ever needed to sell it or whatever, I didn't ruin it. But I do have that cut at home and I actually didn't remove the tab. I just slid it backwards and then taped it to this section back here so that it's still there in case I ever wanted it in the future.
Good
and
idea.
I didn't completely remove it, but I did cut right here and slid that back so that I have a place to put my spatula and my pens and things. And so they lay nice and flat in there. So just FYI, this is really great. And it does help to have everything out on your countertop so that you can see and know exactly where everything is.
We have definitely.
Whoa. Wow.
Mm-hmm. We're
Yeah,
getting some spam.
We got a little bit of spam there going on. All right. So in there, you probably glanced real quick. I have different color tops on my blades and things. So we're going to cover those in just a second. I'm going to start with these guys here. So there are different types of mats, and that didn't change from the CM series into the DX series. There's always been different kinds of mats, and those different kinds equal different amount of sticky. Mm-hmm. So there's always been a low-tack mat, and there's always been a standard mat. So down on the bottoms down here is what is kind of your clue as to
and they
which one is which.
They are the same color for both series of machines,
That
right?
is correct.
But they are not the same mat.
Nope. So over here, It says, I know you can't read that. It says CADX mat. That means that it's for a DX series machine. But that blue turquoise means that it's a low tack mat. It's the same color if you're using a CM series, but you wouldn't have that DX. It just says CAD on your, there's a CA. I don't think it has a D at all. I think it's just CA mat. Is I believe the part number for that one on a CM series.
That would make sense.
There's no D at all. It just says CA mat. And then it goes into the type of mat that's after that. There's more letters. Not that they matter, but that DX is just not listed. So you can always tell by looking at that part number whether it's a DX mat or not a DX mat. But the packaging also says, but once they're open and out of the package, so if you happen to have both machines at home, and you're wondering, how do I tell them apart after they've been taken out of the package? That is how. So to start off with, we have the least amount of tack on the low tack mat. So all of them, it is so scary. It's just crazy, right?
Right.
So we have a plastic covering that comes on all of them, and that's just to keep in storage gunk from getting into that adhesive. So you can see, I've got cut lines that you can actually physically see that are literally into the mat.
And
that is
that's
100% normal, okay? If you don't have those, that means you aren't cutting all the way through anything. And so to make sure that you're getting a clean cut on your paper, your fabric, whatever it happens to be, your blade has to go into the mat to go all the way through whatever it is that you're cutting. So to get a clean cut, that has to happen. The only things that you're cutting that you're not going to see that for are your vinyls, because you're using that half cut feature. So you're only going part way through. Of course, if you get a cut line from vinyl, unfortunately, you've done that wrong.
You
So
forgot to select
you
your
forgot
half cut.
that feature. Or if you are still working on a CM machine, because those work great still, then you want to make sure that you're only cutting halfway through. So you're doing that test cut to make sure that that's going to be only partway through. So if you are seeing this, you didn't ruin your mat. That's how they're supposed to go. Once you have so many cut lines in there that things just aren't sticking because there's not much left of a flat adherable area, that means that it's time to get a new mat, regardless of how well you're taking care of it. So how do we take care of our mats? That's the other part that we're going to talk about today. So I can make sure that I have sticky, and you can tell how much sticky you have by literally doing what I'm doing and sticking your hand on there and going, okay, I can feel a little bit of tack on there. So it's got some, but it's not super, super sticky because the mat's not coming up a little bit off the table. You can see it shifting a little bit, but it's not literally coming up with my hand. That means that it's a pretty low amount of tack that's left on that mat. When I get into a spot that has less cut lines, it's stickier than where I'm at that has been cut into quite a bit. So there's definitely going to be areas that will have less amount even on the same mat. After you've used it more or less, you'll see that difference there as well. This is exactly what it's called. It is totally awesome.
It is.
It really is. That's what it's called, and that's what it is, because it works wonderful. And what this is going to be is what I highly recommend that you clean your mats with. I didn't need that anyway. Those plastics like to slide around and move. They really do. So totally awesome. We do have a few.
Time for our infomercial.
But wait,
There's more.
So totally awesome is the cleaner that is now recommended by, you can see, you can find it all over the internet. Everybody is going to tell you to use this. And this is what I would recommend. I do not recommend baby wipes. That's what we were using before because that's all that anybody had found that worked even a little bit. What baby wipes tend to do is leave just as much fuzz as they come off because they have that cloth texture. That's why they work so nicely on the babies, is because they're nice and soft, right? Well, guess what? All of that stuff gets left behind on your mat. So when we are using this, we're going to use enough but you don't want it swimming.
Because you can always
Okay.
add more.
Can always add more if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I need this corner, although just get another spritz in that corner. I do not dilute this. On the side of the bottle, when you buy it, there's all this dilution information. I'm not diluting it for this purpose. I'm literally putting this right onto the mat, but you can use this in your house for other things if you want
Right.
to. It literally, for
Just about anything.
blackboards, blankets, car wash, chrome. I mean, the list goes on and
Yeah.
on and on.
They make
So-
a really great glass cleaner. Just in
Yes,
case you want
they-
to
they
know.
really do.
They do make some
Um,
great products.
I've actually used this
Mhm.
to clean the windows in my sewing room because I'm like, wow, that looks really bad. We're going to just clean those while we're here. So I've used this exact stuff to do that as well. So it probably was a little overkill, but it worked. They were really bad. We won't talk about. It was a storage room before it was my sewing room. So they were gross.
Windows do get gross.
They were really, they hadn't been, I don't think they had ever cleaned it when we bought the house. They were just full of ick.
Yes.
Yeah, so we fixed that. This got rid of the ick because it's totally awesome.
Mhm.
Anyway, where
Siki
can you get
wants
this?
to know if it has a strong smell to it.
It's not bad. I'm pretty sensitive to that. And it is not really, I mean, it's a cleaner, but it's not like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's not
By
like
it.
bleach.
Not at all. I actually can't deal with bleach anymore. After I got poisoning from it, I can no longer do bleach stuff. So it's not
Yeah, it's not like that.
at all. So
Yeah, it's not too bad.
where can you get it?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree,
I
Big
think
Lots.
Big Lots now.
So those, those are dollar stores, right? So you get them for $1. So I drove my little bum down to the Dollar Tree and I bought 12 or some odd 15. I don't know. A couple of them busted on the way here. My car, that was actually a fairly strong smell. It cleaned my floor mats beautifully though. But so we have them here for $2 and we're getting very low.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 1 or 2 left. But so if you want them for $1, you got to go to Big Lots or Dollar Tree. But we do try to keep some here because we sell the stuff that you need stuff for.
Mhm.
We do try to have that option available here as well. But a Dollar Tree or Big Lots, I have seen it in both.
Mhm.
So, and it's like I said, you can use it for lots of other things as well.
Yeah.
So how do we use it? Let's go back to the mat. Again, you don't need like the whole bottle for one mat. All right. It's going to last you for a little while. What I like to do is I spray each of my quadrants, I guess, if you will. So my sprayer's seen better days. I've refilled this bottle. I don't know how many times now because we clean a lot here. So how often should you clean?
After you're done. Sometimes in
So-
between.
I wouldn't say every use, but I definitely would say every time. So like every day, when you've used it, don't put your mat away dirty.
Right.
All right. So the longer
It'll be
something
worse.
sits on there, the harder it is to get it off.
Mhm.
So if you clean it before you put it away, you're good. I certainly don't mean cut one piece of fabric, clean the mat, and then put in,
Unless it's really fuzzy.
unless it's super fuzzy and you're going to not be able to get whatever you're putting on there next to stick. I'm talking, before you put it away,
Mhm.
make sure it's taken care of. The only time I ever bend that rule is if I'm cutting vinyl because there's nothing really on the mat.
Mhm.
And then I can kind of see, okay, I only cut one thing of vinyl. It
Right.
didn't put anything on the mat. I'm just going to put the mat away.
But just about everything
But
else.
just about everything else, you're going to want to clean that before you put it away.
Mhm.
All right. So I got this cleaner on here. If you don't have skin that is bothered by a cleaner, you can literally move the cleaner around with your finger. Okay. So if you want to just move it all over the place with your hand, you can do that. I don't have that kind of skin. So I use the scraper. But what I don't do with it is scrape. I literally very gently move the cleaner around the mat. So I can see there's a little bit of colored stuff in a few of those cut lines. And so basically what I want to do is pull out all of my colors. And you can see it will start to change color because it will pick up the colors that are inside of those cut lines. And that's what you want to do. You do not want to scrub anywhere that you are seeing a bunch of stuff somewhere, you just want to, you can keep going over that area. Or if you see something and this isn't working, then get your fingers and rub your fingers over that. What you can do is actually remove the adhesive from the mat if you scrape. And I could, if I dug around, I could certainly show you an example of that, because I have had people show me that, and I got some here that people have brought back in and ended up buying a new mat. So I do have one here that's pretty torn up for that exact reason, so I could show somebody what not to do, if you will. So this mat was not very dirty because it was put away pretty clean. But you can see a little bit of stuff in that pile of cleaner. Not much, but a little bit of fuzz and stuff in there. So what I do is I get paper towel. I keep paper towel in my sewing craft room. First thing I do is I clean my spatula and I set that aside. And then I pick up my pile of gunk. So you can see that a little bit more. There was stuff in there and it looked pretty clean to start with. So even if it doesn't look super dirty, that doesn't mean there's not stuff in there. And then I take and I just wipe down the rest of the mat. Okay. So I get the bulk of the cleaner off with my spatula in a pile, and then I wipe it down. And then you just want to let that air dry.
While it's wet, your paper towel is gonna,
it doesn't stick.
It's gonna
it
glide.
just comes right off.
Yep.
So I'm not leaving parts of the paper towel behind.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes right up.
Yeah.
And so most of that I'm pulling up off that puddle,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, when I'm cleaning that off the bottom or wherever you have your puddle. And then I'm just wiping down that excess wetness so I don't have any super spots, if you will, of gunk that I left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to let that air dry. And when it's dry, it's going to be just as sticky as it was when I started. If you do this from day one, your mat will last as long as it possibly could. What's going to lessen the life is going to be the cut lines, not the adhesive.
Right.
So this is how you can take care of your mat and make it last for you as long as possible. If you put it away dirty, that adhesive is going to grab hold of that fuzz and it's not going to let go of it very well. And it's not going to be as easy to get out. And you're going to be buying a new mat sooner rather than later, which of course maybe we should not tell them to do this, because that would be like, more in our pockets.
Right.
That's not right.
No.
Let's not do that. So clean your mat. We of course have them here when you want to replace it and it's time, because like I said, all of those cut lines, it's not what happens when you get all of those cut lines is there's no surface area for it to grab hold of the new whatever it is. So once you have so many lines built into the mat, it's going to stop adhering regardless of how well you clean it, because you've used it too much.
Which also brings us to another point of you probably don't want to cut in the same
Correct.
upper left-hand corner each time. Move
So
your stuff around.
Your machine is going to default and throw whatever you bring into the scan and cut in that upper left-hand corner every time. Boom, that's where it's going to go. I guess it's going to go there. Stupid mirror image. It's always going to put it in that upper left-hand corner of the mat.
Mm-hmm.
So to elongate the life of your mat, keep moving things around so that it's not always cutting on top of itself.
Yes.
So that you don't have a dead part of the mat any sooner than possible. Then you absolutely have to. So once you've got it dry, and it doesn't take long because we wiped off the bulk of that, it's going to be, and it's
almost ready.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I could see it wasn't doing that at all before I started. So you can see that it has actually improved the amount of sticky from cleaning that. So that is the low tack mat. So let's talk about what we would put on the low tack mat. When they are brand new, they're still pretty sticky. When you first take that out of the package, even though it's called a low tack, it's still got a pretty decent amount on there. So low tack mats, I would put on my vinyls. That is generally, especially when they're brand new, I generally use a low tack mat for my vinyls because it's going to grip them fine. and hold on to everything. I'm only cutting halfway through those. So it definitely is holding well enough for that. Once they have lost half their sticky, I stopped doing that and I switched to the standard mat, which has lost half of its sticky. And then I'm back to that same amount.
Right.
And I'll switch over. But when they're brand new, I generally would use that for vinyls as well as my paper. So paper pretty much always goes on a low tack mat. Unless I have a very beat up standard mat, I don't put paper on a standard mat in general, unless it's been used to where it's got very little tack left on it. Because we want to get that paper back off. And if you overstick, it's going to eat half of the paper. So you'll get the top half off, but the bottom half will stay on there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if your paper is too thin, then it will literally just tear. And you have this beautiful cut thing, but you only get part of whatever you cut back off. Mm-hmm. So paper and the vinyls and those types of things, anything with a paper backing is going to also be a good idea. So if I am doing, when it's, again, brand new, definitely want anything with paper backing is going to go on there. So even my fabric, if I have an applique backing, I will put on a low tack mat if it's a brand new mat, because I need that backing to come back off. And especially when it's brand new, I am not rubbing to the point where I'm like, okay, I could literally dance on this thing and hang from the ceiling. And you need to be able to make sure it's coming back off. So always kind of think ahead.
There's a fine line.
Between stuck and not. and oh crap, that's not going to work. So we want to make sure that we have the ability to remove whatever it is that you have put on there.
It has to come back off, but it needs to be stuck enough that it doesn't move.
And there is, having fun?
Yes.
So this beautiful stuff here is a nice bridge between those two. So if your mat is almost sticky enough, but maybe you're a little concerned that it's going to push whatever it is a little bit, but you know that the next mat is going to be too sticky, use that lower tack and tape down your edges, and that's going to give you that balance that you need. So this has been wonderful. I used to tape with like a paper tape, like a Kimberbell tape, but that would get in that adhesive and it would either pull adhesive off when I removed it, or the tape would stick into that, but then that would kind of leave a dead spot behind. So it wouldn't come back off.
Definitely had to use it
again. Right. It didn't work real well. And then I needed to put tape there because I didn't have enough tack to get anything to stick there. This is actually called Brothers Scan and Cut tape. And it works. It was designed specifically to be used on these mats, and it works perfectly. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It doesn't roll up like painter's tape, even though it's blue like painter's tape. It doesn't roll up like painter's tape once it goes in there. Those edges actually hold down there and you don't get that rolling underneath. That is the only real problem that we see people bringing things into Scan and Cuts. That's what I mean by things. Those machines that come in for is they got stuff jammed inside there. These machines don't break. That's not a thing. It is, unfortunately, it's an operator error when you have a problem. And generally it is something went in and came up and got jammed inside the machine while you were cutting. And tape pieces, paper pieces that got unstuck or whatnot because the tape wasn't stuck well, or you used a weird tape or something. And those pieces got stuck inside the machine. That is generally what happens when someone brings us a Scan and Cut and says it's not working. Unfortunately, it, not to blame you guys or anything, but unfortunately, that's generally what it is. It's pieces of whatever it was you were trying to cut that didn't quite work out the way you had planned.
Yes.
So,
most of us wouldn't plan that.
No, you don't want that to happen?
No. Because, I mean, if that's going to happen to me, it's going to happen, Friday night when we're closed for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I don't have a favorite I can call it. I'm all out of favors.
All out of those.
Yes.
Yeah. But I guess the point is that tape is really great stuff. If you haven't already gotten some, I would highly recommend having it on hand because it's that nice in between matte balance. So you're like, okay, the next one's too sticky. So I really want to stay on this one, but I'm a little concerned it's going to shift a little bit while I'm cutting. Just tape those edges down and it really does work and it comes back up. It makes a huge difference. And we're talking
remove your adhesive.
We're talking $5.
Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive.
Totally
it's
worth.
a big roll.
It is. It lasts a really long time. And you can reuse it. My Scan and Cut at home has pieces of tape all over it because I reuse it. When there's actually, I should say it at home. The machine here has tape all over it because I reuse it because why not?
Right.
It's just smart, right?
Yes.
So it's a really great option to have. So yeah.
So how many different tackinesses do we have?
We have 3 tackies.
So we have like light, medium, and heavy.
Pretty much. So previous to this third option, which is the heavy, we had a sheet that you could add onto one of our mats that made it super tacky.
The green sheet.
The green sheet that wasn't actually green. It was the backing paper on it. And what that was the high tack sheet. So what they made, instead of having that sheet, they made a high tack mat.
Right.
And they labeled that the fabric mat. And it is super high tacky. So let's talk about that one next, because if it doesn't go on the low mat and it doesn't go on the fabric mat, that pretty much answers what goes on the middle of the road mat.
Everything else.
Everything else. So let's talk about that one next. So nobody's popped up with any questions else on the low tack. So I'm just going to set that one aside.
And I did throw up links for, we do have a new section on our website called reference materials. Lisa whipped that up before we started here.
That
so
actually went well. I think it's going to work.
And so we have like a cheat sheet for the Scan and Cut mats. So this is directly
that is your quick reference guides are your mat and blade information. There's a CM series one on there and there's a DX on there.
And so I did put the DX and the CM series, and you can see when you get there, you'll know right away which one you have, and then you click. It's very clearly labeled. So click the appropriate one for whatever you have, and it will lay out some guidelines as to so if you forget what we're talking about, there's some stuff you can download and print out and put right with your machine, and then you can watch again because we're so entertaining, right? And then you can take notes if you need to.
Just like that.
There you go.
So this guy, I think, was the smartest thing they've done. And this was awesome. People wanted it, and they finally got what they wanted. So I love it when people get what they want. It just makes everybody's life so much easier. So this is, and you can see that this doesn't even want to come off very, very easily. So this is the fabric mat. And the fabric mat is, I'm going to put this underneath since the last one ended up on the floor. We need to clean that a little bit. There's a little bit of stuff on here. So this one, you're going to see your edges. It's going to be cleaned, but you're going to probably still see little bits because that's how tacky this mat is. There is just, it's sticky. So, I can't barely even get my hand to unstick. It's
sticky.
It's like Spider-Man. Did you see that yet?
No.
You haven't seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I actually want to go again. It was that good.
Can we play hoogie tomorrow? I think we should go to
We're
the
just
movies.
gonna close and
we'll see you at the movies.
You guys can join us there. Tony can just run the shop, right? It'll be like Novi. We'll just pretend we're running the shop from outside the shop.
We're doing like
on location from the movie theater. Totally. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did before and add the cleaner. And I am going to very gently move that. And this is, so it looks like we probably put this away after we did the last cutting from
Demo December.
We were bad.
We were bad.
Yeah. That's what happens when you get busy. See, you guys don't have any excuses at home because it's not like, customer walks in and says, hey, I need you to.
Mm-hmm.
That was our excuse.
Mm-hmm.
What's yours? No, I'm just kidding.
Cindy said that her cover sheet for the fabric mat tore, so she taped it back together because it's that hard to get off.
Yeah,
Yes.
it really is very sticky. So if you get to the point where your cleaner is not puddled enough, add a little bit more. So if you get, hey, I need a little bit more, it's okay. Add a little bit more. And this counter is going to be really clean too because I'm getting some on the counter.
Luckily, there's not a mat underneath there, like a rotary mat.
No, there's
my totally awesome cleaned the markings
the
right
markings
off
right off your mat.
my mat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It
it's
really
very
is awesome. Sometimes it's so awesome you didn't even know how awesome it was.
Yes, you
Yep.
did not know how awesome it was going to be.
So again,
The video is off just a smidge from like as I'm watching your hand move versus what I can hear. So it's like
messing with you?
right when you watch one of those movies and their mouth is
The
just
mouth is
yeah,
off.
that's what it's like here. So on the video watching with your hand, the scrape comes slightly before.
That's really funny.
It is pretty funny.
All right. I got a hair. Somehow we have a hair.
I can't imagine how one
I
of
don't
us
know how
should.
one of us should. All right. So just like we did before, I'm going to clean my scraper. I'm going to clean up my puddle. And then this one is a lot stickier. So I don't want to leave my paper towel in any one spot because it might stick.
Mhm. So Kathy wants to know if you can use rubber gloves to rub the cleaner in.
I don't know why not.
Yeah, just be careful. It could literally eat through the rubber glove.
It is good stuff.
Yeah. So if you have like dishwashing like detergent gloves, like those type of rubber gloves, I think you would be perfectly fine. But if you had like the rubber gloves that you use for like the doctor's office, it might go right through there because it's very good cleaner.
So I have used this. I just wash my hands when I'm done. If I can't find the scraper or whatever, I use my hands and I just make sure I wash it. I just have unfortunately, I have very sensitive skin. So
she's just sensitive.
I am very sensitive. I cry very easily. I cried in Spider-Man.
That's why I was so excited. She said I could yell at her today. Just
No,
kidding.
she likes to make me cry, you guys. So, even if you have sensitive skin, it's not like it's going to burn it and crack it. And, I don't mean to say that, but it's a very strong cleaner, especially when it's not being separated out by using water. So I just don't want you to leave it on there and then have you, wow, my skin's tingling.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you need to use your fingers, it's not going to kill you by any stretch. Just go wash your hands.
Fingers all the time, and then I
just go wash.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. I don't mean to make it sound like it's going to eat away at everything. It's not like that. I just with sensitive skin, you don't want to have anything like that.
Yeah.
And it is definitely strong when it's not going to be broken down and diluted. So just planning ahead there.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to scare you. Sorry. That was cut a long time ago. You can kind of see the outline of the witch hat there. This is the woof. So when you're cutting all the way through again, you're going to see the remnants of your cuts. That is 100% normal. If you're not doing it right.
Yep.
So they are not self-healing, meaning it's not going to go away later on. So the more you cut, the more you're going to see. And
that
again,
would be fabulous, but
that'd be awesome.
it'd be totally awesome.
Totally awesome.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, man. Totally. It's like the 80s and
Right.
we're grooving.
Oh,
It's
we're
groovy. Maybe the
groovy.
70s. We're groovy.
We're groovy.
Totally.
We're the groovy
So
girls.
that's right. Okay. Deep breath.
So this is the fabric mat, and the fabric mat is
The fabric mat is the absolute stickiest. It will remain. Oh my God! Literally,
sticky.
it's
So don't put paper
um,
on here, no matter what you want to do.
Almost got it. Hang on.
No paper.
There we go. Got it off.
No paper backed fabric.
No
even
paper
though that's
backed fabric. No paper, no paper, no paper.
No paper.
No super fuzzy fabric.
Yes. Because that's
So,
like paper.
That's no, it's not. But it will respond like paper. Okay. So if you are working with something that's going to leave a lot behind, it's going to leave a lot behind. So when you go to cut that with your rotary, your standard rotary and ruler, if it leaves a whole bunch of crap on, that was really nice, a whole bunch of stuff on your cutting mat, it's going to leave a whole bunch of stuff on here too.
Mhm.
So just kind of look at it from that perspective. Your cottons, your pretty much standard stables, even blue jeans will fray a little bit, but it's not going to be a problem. That kind of stuff isn't going to be a problem.
No, think stable fabrics.
Stable fabrics. If they're stretchy, your jerseys, your felts, those kinds of things, it's not going to cut well on here because it's going to distort when you go to pull it back off, because it's going to stick in places as you're pulling, and it's not going to end up in the shape that you thought it was when you started. I would use your standard mat for that. You want it to stick well enough, but you want it to come back off. So always think about
what you're
going
to
to
leave behind.
So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. Absolutely, without fail, no paper on this mat. So if your standard mat is dying and you're just like, nope, it's not going to work, and your low tack mat isn't sticky enough, find some paper tape. If you don't have scan and cut tape, do not put paper on this mat for any reason.
It's never coming back
Even
off.
if it's the only mat that you have, it doesn't matter because it's not going to work. All right.
Because it's going to be
It's
permanent.
literally going to be on there, and then you'll have no mat. Because all this will be is paper. It will have no sticky left at all.
Yeah.
So
don't do it.
worst case scenario, I mean, back in the day before we knew it, I've put spray adhesive on a dead mat and then cleaned it and reused it. So with spray adhesive, I mean, I've done it all. I don't recommend that. But if that's like, I got to make this now and I don't have any mat and I can't go buy a new one, you're going to throw it out anyways.
Right.
But I've done it. There's a lot of things we used to do. What you absolutely do not want to do is get adhesive on those rollers. Bad. It is very bad. So really, I know we've had this conversation on other shows before. I'm still using that Web Bond, which Spider-Man.
No one else sells.
No one sells it anymore because they pulled it because it was too cool.
It's probably toxic.
I'm sure it's killing me every time I spray it, but it's really good stuff. It's like a web. It only goes where you spray it. There's no aerosol, so it doesn't have any overspray. It only goes right where you put it. It's like having web shoot out of you.
Yeah.
Ching.
She's on a Spider-Man kick. That's it.
It
We're closed
worked.
tomorrow. We're watching Spider-Man.
We could. Never mind. Could we hijack it and put it up on the big screen? But I guess that probably won't work. But anyway, that is all I ever used, which I never had any overspray. I don't know that I would use a standard like aerosol. That would make me super nervous to put that on my mat because it's going to go.
You just have to cover the outside edges. So, I mean,
make a template so that you're only getting it on the grid portion. If you're going to do that, just be super, super careful.
Or spray the back of your fabric and then put it on.
That would work as well.
The back of your project,
whatever it is that you're going to put on the mat. But do not get it in that roller because that's going to kill the rollers.
So the fabric mat is special to the DX style machines. So it's brand new. And it's only available on the new style auto blades, not unfortunately available to the.
So if you are a CM series model customer still and you're loving your machine and you aren't up for buying a different one, you still have that opportunity to do that high tack sticker sheet on one of your mats, which is kind of what we have. It's not the same thing, but it's the same concept. You unfortunately don't have a fabric mat, and unfortunately even more, you never will. They're not creating stuff for that series machine.
And I have not heard great things about the high tack mat. It's not your
So,
favorite.
It's not my favorite.
And
And the reason why is you're actually cutting through it every time you cut. So you have less and less of it every time. So you're getting a very inconsistent surface. So there's as you're cutting, you're like ribboning off spots of that tack sheet. So you're not going to get a clean, really good cut because you have maybe a spot you don't have it sticky anymore. So you're going to get spots that aren't the same height, not the same amount of tack. So that's why I'm not a huge fan, is because it's not going to, the first time you use it,
it's fantastic.
It's great. But once you cut on it, then that spot that you cut is no longer the same as everywhere else on that sticker sheet, basically. So that's my concern with that. And it's not something that you can take on and off. So you have to dedicate, it's on when you put it on, you're dedicating that mat to that until you're done with it. And then you take it off and throw it away and put on another one. But
they're expensive.
It's not an inexpensive, you're right. It's not an inexpensive thing. So the fabric mat was a perfect solution. It works wonderfully. So fabric on here, I can't even touch that line. It's that sticky. My leg's sticking to it. We're going to cover that little puppy right back up. When you put your fabric on, you don't have to starch it or prep it in any way, shape, or form. It will cut exactly where it needs to cut. If you do prep that in some way, shape, or form, you will get a cleaner edge when you remove it. So the cutting itself is going to be just as clean either way. That you're not going to necessarily see a difference in the cut as it's happening. But what you will see is when you go to remove it, you'll have a much crisper, cleaner edge. If you have starched and pressed it before you cut, than if you don't. You'll get a little bit of fraying when you go to remove that if you haven't prepped that in any way.
Less chance of stretching. So even if the edge doesn't fray, when you're pulling it up off of the sticky part, it's a good opportunity for the fabric to stretch a little bit. So
because all fabric is going, I mean, it's very few fabrics don't have any stretch at all to them. So we talked about felt and how poor that works because of, and the jerseys and those kinds of things, because of the amount of stretch. The same kind of thing can happen. And by adding starch, you're giving it a little, we always, those darn stiff things, they work so much better.
Yeah, works better when
it just works better when it's stiff.
There we go. It had to happen today.
It had to be said. So there you go. You can use an unstarched fabric and slap it down on that and it will work.
Just take it off with caution.
Take it off with caution. The little plastic spatula will work. I highly recommend if you're going to be doing stuff like, you're going to want that metal, nicer spatula. It definitely is a huge difference in the handling of what you're doing when you're removing things off the mats. I still recommend that you are going to prep and starch and whatever that is. If you are using a backing, so your applique something or other, you're going to use it on a different mat. You are not going to be using the paper on this one. You can flip it
upside
and
down.
It will work. So this has a tan bar here. All right. And the blade that you should be using has a matching top.
Imagine that.
I know, it's super crazy, isn't it? So this is the thin auto blade. It has that tan gold colored top. All right.
So
if you have backing on there,
you don't want that.
You aren't going to want that. This is for fabric alone, starched, unstarched, whatever, but fabric alone.
Okay.
All right. If you put something on it, then we're talking, it's no longer fabric alone, and you're going to want to switch into your standard, which is in the machine. That one has the black top. If you are on your CM series machine, that is going to be your turquoise colored is your standard. So I know you guys can see over there. That is that turquoise colored top. That is your standard blade. You guys have a second blade option, and that is the deep cut blade. That one is only going to be used for crazy stuff. All right. There's very, very little that's going to be used on that deep cut blade. I bought a deep cut blade for my CM series machine when I was cutting balsa wood. So picture in your head, and that's the kind of stuff that you're going to be using that deep cut blade for. Your standard blade, you're going to chew it up and it's just going to spit the blade out. It's not going to spit out a cut piece of wood. It's going to spit out your blade. So that you need, you can literally see the differences in the blades. They are visibly holy crow difference in those blades between the standard and the deep cut. Again, I'm talking about the CM series blades. Those are the two options that you have. The turquoise is your standard. That's like 99% of everything that you're going to use. You're adjusting the amount of pressure and the depth of that based on the number dial that's on there and the pressure setting on the machine. We have a lot more options when we get into the DX because they've changed how everything works. All right. So on this one, we have the fabric mat and the fabric blade. Depending on which machine you have, depends on what you got with your machine. So if you have a 225 or a 230, you got this one and your standard. So you have the fabric blade and you have the standard blade. If you have a 230 DX, you also got the vinyl blade in the box. And that has a light blue top.
What mat goes with that one?
That's kind of depends on what you're doing and how sticky is your mat. But that's a great question. So this is, I repeat, a vinyl blade. And this was designed for cutting I can't see where I'm at.
Intricate stuff, right?
Intricate. So if you have I didn't bring any samples over here, but if you wanted to cut, we'll just use what I've got literally in front of me. If I wanted to cut this word brother, I could just use my standard blade because there's nothing crazy, super small, skinny, whatever going on there. If I wanted to cut this ruler, that's got some tiny little notches and tiny numbers, very intricate, thin lines. This vinyl blade is extremely fine. And so it will turn a very sharp corner, which allows for a skinny tail, an eyelash, a swirl, whatever. So this blade here is going to get into all of those very, very detailed designs. And that's what this one is for. So this is currently included in the DX 230 boxes, which we have, I think, 5 left. Other than that, it is a separate purchase. It is no longer being included in any of the boxes.
So can this be used for all vinyl, or would you still recommend using the standard blade for like normal stuff and then use your thin one for just intricate stuff? Is that how you would?
I have used this for if I'm doing heat transfer vinyl and I am just cutting a big letter and my standard blade, my black is in there, I don't need to change it. But I can use this if I want to.
Okay, so you
can use this.
Choose to use this on all vinyl if you wanted
heat
to.
transfer or craft vinyl. So if I'm using my half cut feature, I'm doing something that's like,
right,
I can pretty much use this 100% of the time.
Okay.
All right. The only reason I'm saying that half cut feature is there's people out there that have vinyl, like a marine vinyl or a clear sewing vinyl, those
sewing
kinds of
vinyl.
things. Those are not what we're talking about because that is not at all the same thing. You are going to need your standard blade for that.
Yes.
Those are much heavier materials. And that's a whole different thing.
Yes.
When she asked me what mat I would use, it's going to depend upon what condition my mats are in. So I can use either.
I know what one you wouldn't use.
I would not use this one. I would not use this one. The fabric mat is literally only for fabric by itself. And that is currently coming in my 325F. Anything else? It's coming in the 230DX box.
Yes.
It also comes in that. So either of those, if you are considering buying a new one, or, hey, wait, do I have that? If you purchased either one of those two, the 230DX or the 325F as in fabric. Those came with that fabric mat. If you didn't get one of those two machines, you would have needed to purchase that fabric mat separately, and it would be for fabric, and that's it.
Yes.
So vinyls, blue top blade, you would have to purchase that separately unless you had the 230DX.
And they would need the kit, right? You can't just
You
purchase.
can't.
You have to get the holder.
The holder,
And
which is
the
available as a kit. Yep.
Okay.
And that is available in two ways, either with Disney or without Disney, but it's the same blade either way. You just get an extra Disney card with or without. And I'm guessing you're going to throw that up there.
I am.
So this is $59.99 if I remember correctly, with some really nice designs. They're actually super nice designs with the holder and the blade. Or if you want the holder, the blade, those super nice designs, plus some very intricate Disney designs, it's $99.99. So you're just getting an additional. Is it hidden?
Maybe.
So those are still available, and you can add that to your collection if you would like. I use this for pretty much every vinyl cut, and if you guys know me, you know that I cut a lot of vinyl. So there are refill blades available for that, and again, those are the vinyl blades. So we've talked about the fabric blade, we've talked about standard blades, and we've talked about the vinyl. There are more blades. Can you imagine?
No.
It's crazy. This is the newest one. Unfortunately, they are not currently in stock. It looks much different than the others, and it is much heavier. So there's that one.
Yep. So apparently we don't have the vinyl one in here.
Interesting.
Yeah, our scan and cut section is definitely
It's wanting.
It's a work in progress.
It is. They keep changing prices and different things on those pieces, which is part of our problem. We have tried to figure out a pricing piece for the website, which is part of our. So we'll work on that. We'll get that up there.
Yeah.
If you want to throw the rotary blade so you guys can see that. But this is currently out of stock. It's on back order. We have a few people we owe one to, but this is the rotary blade. I'm going to take this top off so you guys can see. It literally is a mini rotary blade, and it works just like you would imagine. It rolls and then it picks up and turns a corner, and it rolls some more. And so this works for cutting some of those materials that you wouldn't necessarily get as good of a cut with a straight blade that we have.
Like felt.
So the felt that we talked about earlier, this would be a really great way to do that. So fabrics and things. This one does come with some designs. So heavier fabrics and things, this is going to work really well for that. And so puffier things, those types of fabrics, this is going to work really well.
Right.
So
or
foams
super duper thin.
or right.
So
It's kind of those different
yes,
things, not run of the mill.
not stable.
Non-stable. There you go. So this is the rotary, and they actually suggest in the instructions that you, if I remember right, it tells you to use the low tack mat. And it's because you need to be able to get that back off because it is generally a non-stable fabric to use your description. You can use your standard mat
If it's not too stiff.
if it's not overly
new.
sticky. So you could kind of switch around on those depending on what you have available to you. So the rotary blade, the vinyl blade. So this square guy here and the blue top blade. There is also a reference piece for both of those in that reference materials. So if you want to look at that, if you are contemplating buying and you just want to read a little bit more, that is on our site underneath that reference materials tab as well. Or if you've purchased it and you're like, I have no idea what to do with this, it's there as well. Though you have information on how to download that, it's probably easier to click there than it is to go to the Brother site and go through the 20 million clicks to get it.
Yeah.
So, and we will try to continue to add things there so that they're easier. Then I think that's a nice, simple way to find information versus the the rabbit hole
The rabbit hole
of the brother or whatnot site, because it can be a little confusing to find what you're looking for. So I did put the rotary blade and the vinyl blade kit. It's kind of like the instruction manual, but it gives you, you know, what you can do with it and how to use it in there as well. And those both do come with designs. So they're really nice little bundle.
And those have to be activated, and we'll talk about that in another one of these.
Yes, it's
we're
approaching the end of our time.
Yeah.
So the big picture is there is a mat for everything and there is a blade for everything. And unfortunately, the more you use things are going to float from one mat to the next mat, depending upon how much you've used it and how sticky it is. So none of the rules are cemented in it's always going to be this and it's always going to be that.
Except don't use paper on your fabric.
That one is definitely rock solid. Yes. But the idea of, you know, look at what you have in front of you. And I certainly don't need to tell you guys, use the common sense that you have of, okay, wow, that's super sticky. Yep, that's not going to come off. Then don't put it down there.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
think about what's going to happen to it when you peel it off.
When you peel that off. So if you guys have worked with cardstock, you know, one of the things I used to love to do when I was scrapbooking was tear cardstock, because you could get that gradient look because it separates and you could get that. When you cut it, if you go to peel that off, it's going to separate if it's too sticky on that back side, and you're going to get a torn look that you may not have been going for. It's great when scrapbooking, maybe not so much with card making or whatever it is that you're trying to create. So just keep that in mind. You know, always think about, okay, what is it that I want it? What's my end game? That's you hear me say that in classes all the time. What's the end game? Because what is that plan? Because there may be a glitch somewhere in the middle that's going to prevent me from getting to that spot.
Yep.
And you guys know we come with every machine we sell. You can call and ask questions. It doesn't have to be an hour-long appointment here in the store to go with whatever that is. If you are unsure, call, ask the question, send us an email. You know, we're happy to help. That's the whole point. We want you to love your machines, not grumble about them. So, you know, give us a call and we'll help guide you through whatever it is that you're working on. And if it needs to be a one-on-one appointment, that's okay too. But sometimes the phone call is all that it takes. And it's so much easier to ask than try to fix the problem later. So I hope that this has helped kind of tell you about the different blades and mats and what they do. Unfortunately, there's not a blanket answer, but the guides there will tell you kind of a guideline from Brother's perspective. And, you know, there's a lot of opinion in there, unfortunately. So it's.
Yes. So let's quickly summarize. The DX machines have 3 mats.
3 mats.
You have 3 choices. We have the fabric mat, which is the stickiest. Stickiest. No paper.
No paper.
And then we have the
standard mat, which is the purple. And that is available for both machines. Okay.
Yep.
And that one is going to be the middle tack. And that one is going to obviously be the stickiest when it's brand new.
Right.
So brand new, no paper. All right. But after it's been used, you could use that depending upon what project it is that you're doing. It could be used for that kind of thing. But your backed fabrics and things like that, you're going to probably want on that one there.
Yes.
You can always flip and have that fabric be with the paper side up. Just remember to mirror image so that you aren't screwing up whatever it is that you're cutting.
Yes.
Remember, if you flip your fabric, you also need to flip the design.
Yep.
And so that middle tack is going to be for things that you may want to make sure aren't going to be pushed while they're cutting, because it needs to have that nice firm grip.
Yep.
All right. And then the low tack is the turquoise line. And that one is for paper. Your vinyls are going to work on that very well. Do you want to add anything on those?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then for your CM series, your main is going to be that turquoise, which is the standard for the CM series machines. The purple topped blade is the deep cut, and you will have to have a very special project before you're going to switch into that deep cut blade. Either a super heavy fabric like blue jean or something like that, or like I said, I used it for balsa wood when my husband's, could you do this?
Sure.
You know, they don't ask very often, so you got to make it
Try
happen. Those are the two blades for the CM. And then you have your black standard blade for a DX. And the others are going to be your fabric, which is the tan top gold, or the, let's do this. Is that better?
Yep.
So the black is the standard, and then you have the tan gold top here, which is your fabric, the light blue, which is your vinyl, and then this one here is the rotary. So those are the actual cutting blades. There are some other tools, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Those are actual cutting pieces there. So
that's about it.
that is about it. So the rotary blade is currently coming with the Disney machine. So that is in that box. If you are looking again for a new machine, you would get your standard and rotary with the new Disney machine.
But all of the blades for the different styles of machines are available to be purchased separately, and they are consumables, so you will be replacing the blade.
The blade itself.
You don't necessarily need to replace
You should
your
not
holders.
need to replace the holder.
You have to work hard to break that.
You do. There are some schools of thought. There are people that I use this one for cutting paper. I don't cut, kind of like scissors. I have scissors that I only cut with paper, for my paper, and then I don't cut fabric with those and that kind of thing. I don't really worry about that too much personally. I just replace the blade when it needs replacing. But there are some people that have them labeled and say, this is the one I use for fabric and this is the one that I use. And so they do get a second holder for that kind of thing, so that we can certainly hook you up with that if that's what you're looking for. But I do definitely recommend for those blades that you're using on a regular basis to have a spare blade, because like she was saying, it's always Friday night or Saturday night or whatever, and nobody's going to be here to be able to come get one when you find that you need that blade replacement. There's no getting it. so and then it's Monday morning and you're standing outside the door. That Mervin's commercial. I love that Mervin's commercial.
Sandy says, can I get on a list? Oh, yes. Sandy, if you can send us an email, that would be fantastic. Then we can make sure that we get you on that list, just in case we forget in the next 3 minutes before
you just never know.
And getting
we make no
to
promises. But yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, I don't have a date. They have not given us any time frame as to when we will see them. We saw 2 of the God knows how many we have on back order at this point come in November.
Yeah.
And those went out within seconds. And we haven't seen any since the beginning of November. So hopefully soon. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, just like you guys. So hopefully that answered more questions than it raised. And if it raised some that you didn't get in the comments, please feel free to give us a buzz or send us an email. And have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Next week, we're going to do, what are we doing?
Maybe sergers.
Sergers? Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk about some basic things on sergers next week, and we will see you there. Have a great one. Take care. Bye, guys.
Wrong button. Bye.
Bye again.